Hello and welcome to Who Dares Rolls TV. I'm your host, Mike B. Almost rhymed. So this video is a compilation, a list, another list. Well, everyone else has been doing it, we've given up. Let's make some lists. But this is a top 10 of games that I think are unloved, unwanted, unplayed maybe. I don't know. This is my, Mike B's top list. 10 games in my collection that I feel have kind of missed the boat, a bit unloved. They've been passed by. I mean, in this modern age of board gaming, where games are coming out with ferocity. Every month there's more and more games. Back in the oldie worldy days, a game would come out and it would have time to savour itself, to play, land around and be played and played, loved, adored, and then another one would come out maybe a year or two later. This was back in the 80s and 90s. But now stuff rushes by. I mean, we have like 10 games a week coming out. I mean, it's insane. You can't play all this stuff. Well, you can try, but this is the point we're in. So games tend to have a very short shelf life. They hit and either shine so brightly, or they just drop off the radar. And there's nothing against some of these games. Some of these games are perfectly solid, lovely games, but sadly, the push of shiny minis or just general the bling of a Kickstarter or just the next sort of shiny thing on the horizon distracts from it. And this stuff falls by the wayside, doesn't get played very much. Hits the table, gets played once, and goes, which is a crying shame. I'm going to drink more coffee. Because a lot of this stuff we've got coming out is astounding, it's brilliant stuff, and it just needs time to breathe, it needs to be on the table some more, it needs to be played some more. So, with all that said and done, let us commence proceedings. This list is in no specific order, but there will be 10 games that I own in my collection that I feel, as I say, are not as loved as they should be. They should be applauded for their loveliness. So let's give them a round of applause, oh happy few of you out there, and let's get cracking with number 10 on the list. It's a very long title, which I'll shorten down at some point. So, number 10 on the list. Moving on. Number 10 is Meeple War. So, Meeple War came out a couple of years ago by Call Me or Not. It was Blue Cocker Games originally published it. This is kind of a precursor to Carcassonne is the blurb on the box. It's essentially a war game, but plays in about an hour. 4 players or less, and it's a cracking little game. So it's kind of an area control and just point scoring really. You have your race of meeples on the board. I'm going to put this down because I'm holding it for too long. You have the race of meeples on the board, you have a starting area, and you have a variety of buildings that you can build. So think of stuff like, I'm going to go back and miss the time of video games, but like World of Warcraft, the original World of Warcraft, not the MMO, but like real-time strategy games, like the Red Alert, stuff like that, Command & Conquer, where you are building buildings. So you have a worker that slowly ticks down until the building is created, and then you can build a variety of different things, more meeples, weapons, you can fire catapults or nuke people on the board. The idea is essentially to score 6 points, and you'll get that either from fighting on the board by gaining glory for doing that, which that's pretty much just if you send 8 meeples against 6, you're going to win by 2. You wipe out the opponents, you score some points for doing that, and you'll score points on the track. You can do that by taking out people's buildings. There's a defense bonus on each building, and as it's ticked off by being attacked by meeples, when you take a building out, depending on how many defense slots it has, it's how many victory points you're going to gain. Pretty straightforward stuff, but I love some of the mechanisms that are going on in this. The whole building, as I say, that feel of like a World of Warcraft. I'll say it again, why not? That building structure creation, the timing of that is brilliant. It just works exactly like one of those real-time strategy games. And it is really, essentially is like a real-time strategy game. So any fans of that, I mean, yes, some of the art it's okay. The theming, people are going to overtake or leave it. It is pretty nonsensical. With a cracking theme on this could have been amazing. And perhaps that's why it kind of fell by the wayside. It's kind of this sort of fantasy theme. It looks good. It's fine. Some cool little meeples in there. But yeah, essentially everything about it isn't as great as the sum of its parts. It's a cracking game. It can be found in bargain bins at the moment. It plays, as I say, in about an hour. Anyone who wants to scratch the itch of a very sort of light war game on the table, easy to teach, get rolling on it. Some really cool little tactics on it, and it's vicious fun. Yes, lots of horribleness. I mean, any fan of takeout sort of play where everyone's just going to be absolutely bitching on one another, this is exactly what we fucking want. So yes, if you want that, it has player elimination. You can get wiped out. It's all kind of quick though, so it essentially shouldn't take very long. But yeah, Me for War is a cracking little gem, and I applaud you if you go and find it right now and buy it. Ivor the Engine. Ivor the Engine for our non-English viewers was a animated show in the about 1970s. In good old Weldy England. It was the tales of a little steam engine in Wales where we would ka-chuff around collecting sheep and dragons and choirs and stuff. Very nice. It's kind of a weird, melancholy sort of show. It was by Peter Firmin, Small Films. They went on to do Bagpuss and The Clangers, lots of classic animation at the time. The game is designed by Tony Boydell, he of Snowdonia fame, and it's a really great little game. Why it didn't find its feet, I don't know. Obviously, Ivor fans would have jumped on it, but obviously it didn't translate into the bigger picture. The idea of the game is essentially it's a train game. Of course it is from Tony. What we're doing is you're going around and you're collecting sheep. But the core mechanics in the game is some card play, and you've got to take all the sheep off areas to control them. And it's vicious, utterly vicious game. It looks gorgeous. It looks like a kiddie game, and maybe that's why it's not done so well. But actually, underneath all that veneer of cutesy is this beating dark heart of take that play and viciousness. Really good, solid game. Again, plays about an hour. I think it's up to about 3 to 5 players. Again, thunders along at a fairly decent pace, about an hour or so. And yeah, as I say, if you've passed it by thinking it looks like a kid's game, then take a second glance, because actually there is a whole lot more going on. It's a really tightly designed little game, and a cracker, and one I like to get to the table whenever I can. And of course it's got Ivor the Engine in it, which lovely art by Peter Firmin. Sadly passed away latter half of last year, but so this is like the final sort of thing there. It's well worth hunting down and having a look for. A beautiful piece of stuff. Another great one for Tony, and worth a look. Right on the list is Chaos Moss. So this was a Kickstarter a few years ago. Yeah, it was a Kickstarter a few years ago. Chaos Moss. So the idea of the game is that it's based, I believe, on a book. Some book from maybe the 80s or so, so it's not a modern title. It was all about the end of the universe, and in the game there is a ticking clock mechanism as the universe is counting down to whence it will blow up and everyone will die. The only way to survive this cataclysmic event is to find the ovoid, this weird egg alien you're looking for to find it. If you hold that at the end of the game, then you're safe, you're not going to die. And the game is played out over some planets. There's across the board, and each of them have a cool mechanism that there's like a box or an envelope on each planet, which contains items. So kind of like a treasure hunt, you're going around to these planets with these aliens you control, which have a variety of different powers, different weapons and stuff, and you can upgrade that by finding stuff. Each planet you go to will allow you to peek into this envelope and trade cards, take stuff out. You can also put cards in it, so you can actually booby trap these envelopes or put vaults on them to lock them off. And what you're doing is you're looking for this egg, which is somewhere out there on one of these planets. It's just an interesting mechanisms and an idea. There really isn't anything else like it. It kind of has a cosmic encounter vibe to it, just with the various alien races that are kind of a bit funky and crazy, and the art design is really cool. Yeah, it's kind of one of those forgotten gems, sadly. It is really good fun. It's got this, as I say, wonderful mechanism of the planets that you can hide stuff in or take stuff out, and you get this kind of hide and seek situation. And also with the ovoid, if you do find it, you don't necessarily have to pick it up and carry it with you. You can stash it in a planet, keep it safe somewhere. Maybe put a booby trap on it and sort of sneak off. So it's a bit of bluffing. Take that. It's push your luck. It's kind of an interesting sort of mash of stuff going on. Really cracking little game. There is an expansion in the works that's been for the last couple of years. So maybe that will eventually surface at some point in time. But if you can track it down, Chaos Moss, if any of that sounds interesting, it's a really solid little game. Really good. And for a Kickstarter, you know, not overproduced, some good components in there. And as I say, really fun and refreshing bit of game. And again, sadly, kind of didn't really make a big splash. But actually, it's a solid game. Number 7 on this list is Lewis and Clark, which kind of the list come about because it was prompted by Ignacy from Porter Games. Wrote a post in the last couple of months or so bemoaning that Lewis and Clark is actually out of print, which that's kind of sad. It's a cracking game. It's got wonderful art by Vincent Dutray on there. I mean, Vincent's art is astounding. It's really beautiful. I love his art style. Anything with Vincent's art on is kind of like I'm almost halfway to getting anyway. But the game itself is absolutely a stonking bit of game design. It's a race game. So essentially it's based on the 18th century, 1800s. There was Lewis and Clark. We're on a boat trip up the river, and it's kind of based on that, and you're all going to be playing those sort of characters. It's got worker placement in there. It's got these cards, multi-use cards, so all the cards have different things. They have powers on them. You can use them as a means of economy. You can use them as something to spend. You can use them as a take that action. So there's a bunch of these cards, and on each of them there's lots in the game, and they've all got alternative weird little powers, and they've got double sides on them. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to race your little convoy of flotilla of boats up the river to the Rockies to win the game. First person there wins the game. But it's an engine builder game as well. So you're trying to create an engine to allow you to move up the river. And if you get it wrong, what happens is you kind of jump up 5 spots, but actually then you'll kind of drift back down. You have to make a camp. So it's got this point where you make this efficient engine to try and get up this river. And then you reach the mountains, which require you to change your engine to get through the mountain area before you can get back in the river. So it's this really cool sort of slow burn thing. It is a thinky game. It is a game that initially the rules are kind of, once you know what you're doing, is simple enough, but there's like lots of iconography on the cards, and there's quite a complex bit of brain burn going on there. But once you've got that out of the way and you're actually off and rolling on the game, it's a solid little game. Really cracking stuff. Any fans of like a sort of heavier side of a Euro and engine builder with some worker placement thrown in and these multi-use cards, I mean, there's all sorts, there's abundance of really cool design going on here. And yet it's out of print, which is insane, really, when you think about it, when I think about it, because it's nuts, because it's probably one of the best games I've played for some time in the last few years, and it's such a crying shame. I agree entirely that this is no longer in the public domain. If you could hunt down a copy at a reasonable price, absolutely well worth picking up. It looks gorgeous, absolutely stunning look to it. And plays like a beauty. A really good stonking game. There's things like Great Western Trail have come out since, and some other stuff. I don't think hold a candle to Lewis and Clark in what Lewis and Clark is doing. I mean, the Great Western Trail's got some really good raving, and even Terraforming Mars, which I do enjoy. Terraforming Mars. Lewis and Clark's the real deal. It's an absolute cracking game. Go and see if you can hunt it down and find it. Highly recommended. Number 6 on the list is Spiria by William Attia, I believe it was. So again, this is a steampunk sort of set, worker placement, but again with more going on. So you've got worker placement, you've got multi-use cards, cards that do different things. It's like a area control worker placement game, and in a steampunk universe, you essentially got a tableau of cards that are placed at the start of the game. About 6 cards. There's different time periods in the game, and there will be different buildings or different card effects on there. And you place your meeples in the first round to try and sort of area control bits of this, what cards that you might want to actually pick up. Second stage of the game is that you then can grab the cards. So you're building an engine to essentially, again, you can pick up buildings, which will allow you to spend stuff, to do stuff, to get more spirium, which is this weird sort of kryptonite type stuff in the game, which is worth victory points. Or you're building your income up to bring more each turn, or you're getting more workers out. It's simple, but complex enough. Art and design, the whole production's pretty nice on it. It was relatively inexpensive when it came out, and again, it's a cracking little game. It does some really cool, interesting little mechanisms. As I say, the cards on the table are really cool. There's enough variety that every time you're going to play it, you're going to get a little bit of a different mix because you don't see all the cards whenever you play it through. There's events happen every turn. I mean, it's one of those games that Solid could have done with an expansion. Would have been really cool, but as it stands, it's a solid game. But you know, had it hit maybe stronger, you know, I would have liked to have seen some more cards been added to it and more things. But as it stands, it's again, it plays in about an hour and a half, and it's a really satisfying game. Yeah, it's another one of those where you go, well, why is this not around? I'm not sure if it's still in print if you can get it, but if you can, hunt it down, because it wasn't massively expensive when it was available. And any fans of engine builders, worker placement, and any of the mechanisms that are going on in there, going to be taken by this and enjoy it immensely. So that's William Attila's Spirium. Well worth finding, hunt it down, grab it. Lovely. So yes, number 5, Dale Emergence, the Guild of Extraordinary Traders. A really beautiful art and design in this game, and it has a dice tower seal of excellence. That tells you something. So there's Dale Emergence 2. They both stand differently. You can combine them. It's a kind of deck builder, engine builder, but you reverse deck build. You're kind of changing stuff as you go along. There's dice rolling in it. I mean, it's a tiny little box, but it's a really satisfying little game in here. Go and have a look some proper videos. I won't go rave on there, but I mean, cracking game. There is 1, 2, there's a third coming, or maybe a big box edition of them. I don't know. Again, relatively inexpensive game. But really good, solid fun. Again, about an hour or so play. Yeah, it's, again, you know, it doesn't get enough raving. I mean, it's obviously got a seal of excellence, it's been proven, but I think the danger is, or the problem was with the game, it kind of came out, was really popular, something else shiny came out, so it kind of got bypassed. But yeah, if you've not played it, hunt it down, give it a go. Dale Emergence, really cracking little game, really good fun. There you go. Number 4 on the list, it's Chronicle from Z-Man Games. It's by Senji Kanai. I may have murdered that pronunciation. He's the designer of Love Letter. I think this came out just after Love Letter, maybe before it, can't quite recall. It's a trick-taking game, up to 5 players, or actually up to 6 players. Trick-taking game, got 4 suits of cards, and they've all got the same powers on each of the different cards, but there's 4 different types of them. So you're playing a card down to win tricks, but the cards have different abilities on them. So we'll reduce the value of a card before, or give you minus points and negative points. So you're trying to take a trick, unless you've got minus points in, then you want to give it to another player. And you're making sets. It's great, really cracking little game. It plays in about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe faster once you get your head around it. And it's just one of those really, Love Letters, really solid little game, really love that. But this one, just as good design and all that on it. It didn't quite get maybe as much acclaim as it, but if you can hunt it down, really good. If you're looking for something as a filler at the beginning or late end of an evening, really good fun. Card play if you like trick taking, with abilities on the cards, lovely stuff. Quite cool art in there. Why it's maybe not been reissued with a shiny, I don't know why, like Love Letter, this didn't get as much love as Love Letter. But yes, really good fun. Chronicle, really great game, really good fun, really good little filler. Good stuff. Go and see if you can hunt that down. Then we have Guilds of London, another game by Tony Boydell, old buddy Tony. So this has no trains in it, but what it does have is some really cool design going on in here. It's like a tableau game, worker placement, all sorts of good stuff going on. What it comes down to is it's got some really cool multi-use cards. If you're a fan of things like Race for the Galaxy or any of those Glory to Rome, those card games where you've got a card that can be tilted or do different things, this is the game that does that. Everything has multi-use cards, so you're never really at a point in your hand where you can't do something. It's a vicious game where you're trying to take area control and you're bitching your opponents. it kind of fell down on release, sadly, because people weren't willing to spend the time to play and learn it. It has got quite an initial kind of steep mountainside of the iconography on the cards. There was help in the box. There's some BGG files that help even more. So it's one of those rewards playing more than once, maybe even twice, maybe even 3 or 4 times. Once you grok how the cards work, how all the iconography works, then you can really start tearing away at the game and playing in it. And it is really a solid game, absolutely brilliant. It's crying shame that it's turning up in bargain bins. Even now I see it turning up in bargain bins, in which case if you can get it for a cheap price, then yes, you're getting a steal at that. Really good stuff. There's an expansion in the works for it, apparently, which sounds cool and interesting. More Guilds of London is always good. Yeah, if you've not played it and you like the idea of that multi-use card stuff, because that's the key to it, it's got lots and lots of card play in there. There is tiles on there. You have the cool little meeples you're putting in. You've got it's vicious, good fun, area control, all sorts of good stuff. Yeah, Guilds of London, really good, really good. Then we got number 9? Yeah, number 2. I don't know. This is kind of reversed order. The Bloody Inn, which has had an expansion, which I haven't picked up. So Bloody Inn is based on some apparently allegedly factual story of the 1800s in France, where there was some hotelier murdering his guests and selling the corpses or something. All very Sweeney Todd and the Burke and Hare. So if you're a fan of the macabre theme, which kind of drew me in the first place, this is a really good game. You're all playing hoteliers in this hotel, and what you're attempting to do is murder guests to score points. Again, it uses multi-use cards that do different things. They can be guests, or they can be a building, or they have abilities and powers on them. And what you do is you kind of have a deck that runs through once, and then it reverses and comes back through again. So you can kind of, if you can do a bit of card counting, you get it. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to get guests in hotel rooms, and you're trying to pick them and dispose of the bodies. Preferably without the police turning up. If the police turn up, then you really have a problem killing guests. They get different levels of power, so some guests are harder to kill, so you need to get different weapons or different people to help you do it. And then you've got to bury the bodies under one of your buildings to score the actual points, to lock them off. It's a crazy idea. It's really, as I say, a dark theme. The art and design, I think, is stunning. It's a really gorgeous looking game. Totally different theme, something that you've not really seen before. I love the whole quirkiness of it. It's a really solid little design as well. Plays along really, like, whiffs along, and some clever stuff going on. Bloody Inn. There is an expansion, as I say, the Carney's expansion. Not actually picked up and played it, but I may have to at some point. But yeah, as it stands, the base game, it's solid game. About an hour or so of play, and yeah, good fun. Finally on this list is Room 25, which has been around for a little while. There's an expansion to Room 25. There's, I think, a big box version of it now. Room 25 is essentially a board game version of the movie The Cube, if you've seen it. It's supposed to be a game show. What it is you'll play people on a TV show. You're in like a prison, and you're trying to escape. Now, the movie The Cube, there was a similar situation. People trying to escape, different sorts of rooms, did horrible things to people. Same idea. You essentially have a 5x5 grid, I think, of tiles with a central tile where you're trying to find the exit, and you do that by flipping tiles. What you do is it's a programmable movement. So you, as one of your characters, will program your moves in secret, which would be either move, you can push other characters into rooms, you can flip a tile, you can even move whole rows of tiles, so kind of move the maze around. The cool thing of this, it can be played full co-op, but there's a semi-co-op mode where essentially you have hidden guards amongst you. All they're trying to do is just murder everyone else to stop you escaping, and that's really lovely edge to the game. There is rooms in there that will kill you instantly when you walk into it, and I remember a couple of amusing games of where a player has literally been killed in the first round by being shoved through an open doorway into certain doom. Other rooms, like acid baths and stuff, will have delayed effects on when you die. Lots of really cool sort of rule changes and stuff going on in the thing. It's really riveting. It's a really good thing to teach, and it's just a rollicking game of running around and tripping over things and the horrible violent death, with the whole programmable thing going on. cracking theme, cracking game, really, really good. If you could pick up the big box version, because the base game is all right, it's solid, but the expansion that came out, Season 2, added special player powers and a few other little things that just were like a tweak, which should have been in that base box to kind of complete the whole thing. There's also an escape room version which I own, but I've not actually played. But yes, Room 25, absolutely cracking entertainment. Hidden traitors, programmable movement, violent death. What more could you possibly need in an evening? So there you go. There you have it. I'm going to have a slip of coffee. So there you have it. There is my top 10 list of unloved games. Games that have missed the boat, maybe. That are out there now, mostly. You should be able to hunt most of them down. Cracking games. There's abundance of hundreds of thousands of games coming out every year. But these ones here are out there now, and you may not have played them. If you had a chance, hunt them down, give them a go. They are solid games, really good fun. Do some research, have a look at them. Just even if I've tantalised you briefly about the thought of it. A lot of this stuff can be picked up at bargain prices, which you get in a steal. Why spend a fortune on that latest big miniature filled box when you can get yourself an absolute gem for probably like 20 quid? So there you have it then. There is Mike's unloved list of 10 top unloved, unwanted games. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm signing off now on that bombshell. We'll be back soon. I have a bunch of reviews to get reviewed and done. I lost the video files. I'm an idiot. Until that happens, we'll see you again soon. Have fun playing games. That's not really a good sign off. I don't know. Yeah. Adios.